want to call the regular board meeting of the Greeneview Board of Education for September 15th, 2022 to order. Call the roll.
Suzanne Arthur,
Here.
Scott Powers,
Present.
Angela Reagan.
Here.
Megan Smith.
Here.
Teresa Wallace.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't think we have any public participation tonight. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I will move.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, Suzanne Arthur,
Yes.
Scott Powers.
Yeah.
Angela Reagan,
Yes.
Megan Smith,
Yes.
Teresa Wallace.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, at this time, we'll have a presentation, Visioning by Dr. Sabrina Woodruff. Woodruff, I can't talk.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me get acclimated here. Get this slideshow up. So tonight, as we are kind of in our routines now, we started a new school year. I just wanted to share with you some of the highlights of our work and our planning as we begin the 2022, or really come off of 21-22 and begin our 22-23 school year. So some of this hopefully will look familiar to you, as it is our same beliefs and priorities that we put at the forefront of our work last year. I hope that the board and our community and our school district finds that there's the comfort in the consistency from where we were last year and how we go into this year. So just kind of putting in front of us again, those, before we can talk about visioning or goal setting, but what our belief system is and where our priorities lie, which there you can see, like, understanding what our why is, knowing that we as a school district serve our community, that we foster a whole child education, that it's not just about the state report card, although I'll be able to share some information with you this evening, but it's about all of the ways in which we prepare our students for graduation and post-graduation, how we work together collectively, how we have high expectations for all of our students, how we're using inclusive instructional practices, how there's accountability in this district, but that also comes with support. And I hope you've been able to see how we've maintained consistent communication here within the district, but also outside with our community members. And as we move forward and continue, and we have a lot of decision-making actually to make this year especially, but that these bullet points are really always on our dashboard and at the forefront. Again, what is our why? What is best for students? What is best for our organization? What is also fiscally responsible? And that we're always looking to consider multiple stakeholders and perspectives as we do decision make. And again, I'm going to continue to repeat that we are consistent and open with our communication as we make decisions within the district. I voiced last year and will reiterate again that never is there any decision making made in isolation, but with all those items considered and multiple stakeholders and perspectives. My goals from last year are also the same as my goals this year. Second year in the seat, which certainly feels better than the first year, I'm not going to lie, but continue to build trusting relationships with, again, multiple stakeholders. I'm excited, especially this year, through the community advisory committee and some of the other opportunities that I'll have, being at the festival this weekend, to really connect and network with a larger net of members of the community, the school community, but also even the larger community. Continue to understand or establish structures, systems, and processes, and again, about how we do business. And even still going into the second year, there's still some learning there. How do we follow this process, or what is the systems for how do we do this? Or if we do have a system or a process, then how can we improve it so that we can be more efficient? Especially in a smaller district where many of us wear multiple hats. always looking for ways for efficiencies and making sure that we serve students and our families to the best of our ability. And then to kind of follow up with that, what are the vehicles that we use to implement and evaluate our ideas or decision make? And by vehicles, I mean, what are those groups, like where do we make those decisions? Whether it's an administrator meeting or it's our larger cabinet meetings, or if it's within our DLT, those are the vehicles, if you will, in which we bring information and share and make decisions. And do we have the proper tools to be able to use within the systems and the processes to ensure that we're getting positive outcomes, and again, making sure that we're efficient and effective. And so with visioning, again, I've got some pictures there, but if you've heard me repeat in my superintendent's update too, there's going to be some repetition here. But when we look at the visioning process, I think about it in the 3 buckets: the teaching and learning piece, the facilities piece, and also the operational piece. And then this year, what I want to add to that are what I'm going to refer to here as RAM Pride. By RAM Pride, I mean the other things, if you will, that are really intertwined within the work that we do with teaching and learning, or that we're doing through operations or facilities. Like, how do we engage community in those 3 vision areas? How do we partner with our parents? And how do we demonstrate our school pride? And then even within those 3 areas that interwoven into the 3 visioning buckets, if you will, like, what does that look like at a district level? What could that look like at a building level? And then what could that look like also in athletics? So for example, I know the high school is working on making sure that they get the TV up and running there by the gymnasium, so that we can show the accomplishments of our standout athletes. So there's an example of how school pride integrated in the building is having like that overall impact on RAM Pride. So kind of back to the visioning piece: teaching and learning, facilities, and operations. And I'm going to start backwards here. So I'm going to start with facilities, where usually I lead with teaching and learning. So obviously there's lots of work that takes place within the district as it relates to facilities, but this slide here is really about what our priorities are right now. It's how we compartmentalize our work, prioritize it, and then put together the proper steps to be able to get to the outcome that we want. Safety and security is obviously of utmost importance. The check-in and check-out system that we instituted last year, well, we didn't institute it, but we really made sure that we were more vigilant. You had to show ID, so we improved that piece last year in the buildings. This year, actually, we're looking at maybe piloting some software about mid-year that we'll see if that might also serve our needs as we have visitors and other individuals in our buildings. Looking at improving our camera systems, and also completing these vulnerability assessments, which will soon become a state requirement. But the vulnerability assessments are a way in which you can assess each building for where there might be safety and security gaps, and it helps you prioritize your work and what you need to go after first, if you will. Also, we'll continue our work with crisis prevention, crisis management, and crisis response. Last year, most of that work was about crisis management. Like, when the crisis happens, what are the processes and the procedures, and how do we manage the crisis? So this year, we're going to be focusing on the other 2 ends of that. Like, how do we prevent crisis? So crisis prevention, and then also how do we respond maybe after an event has occurred? The classroom spaces, the classroom and learning spaces associated with facilities. The 2 big ones there are functional HVAC, which we know is ongoing. Right now, actually, knock on wood, we're in a pretty good spot with those pieces. REEC has really been doing a good job being responsive in our district. And then also the master planning piece this year will be a big part of that. Our extracurricular spaces are our miscellaneous spaces, if you will. The 2 big ones, or the 2 high priorities, of course, are the field house and then the bus garage project still with the trailer. So again, there's plenty of work related to facilities, but that just really outlines the highest priority items. Regarding operations, Mrs. Fisher's been working with the departments and individual buildings and establishing a budget that makes sense for whether it be their building or their area of expertise, and making sure that we continue to be fiscally responsible. And then the planning for the future as it does pertain to operations and facilities, where we need to be, where we need our spending needs to be, and how we're making sure that we're good stewards of our dollars. Policy and resources this year, looking at the student handbook, we'll be looking at the code of conduct. That will be the focus area in the student handbook this year. Human resources, I'll come back to working on a process to digitize our personnel information in Frontline Central, again, being more efficient so that we can access information quickly and also onboard our new hires really in a more relevant and up-to-date way. And then some of the board governance pieces are like the new board docs platform that we're using with our agendas. And we can continue to have conversations about that as well, of things that we might want to do as a board, policy updates, etc. The final piece of operations with communications, just looking at continuing to refine our communication strategies, not just internally, but also externally, our outreach within the larger community and with the partners in our community, to continue with the branding pieces, and doing a pretty major website update right now as well. So even though the platform is changing through a buyout, I believe, but still we're kind of like getting in there and really making sure that the old stuff gets out and that we're reorganizing and making sure that it's more up to date for our community. And just another nod to communication, again, something you're just going to hear consistently from me is what a priority it really needs to be. I hope that you see that we're intentional in our delivery among staff and the community to connect us across the district, but also celebrate school and community about being open and transparent. And the big one this year will be the Community Advisory Committee gathering together. And the final visioning piece outside of operations and facilities is teaching and learning. So those are the three areas that we're focusing on. The first is our regular core instruction. The second is how we close gaps for students who are at risk. And the third is how we support the social emotional wellness of our students. And then you can see there that we can drill down deeper. We're really going to especially be looking at the practices we use with literacy, with our regular core programs, our intervention strategies with the gap closing piece, and the systems, again, of support for how we support students who might have behavior management issues, or how we just foster their readiness to be able to learn. So those three guiding goals, if you will, are the major part of the work of the district leadership team. As you know, this is the first year for the district leadership team. We have 20 members. The purpose is to drive school improvement efforts, looking at, like I shared, both academics, but also behavior, making sure that we're using data to goal set and that we monitor the progress of the things that we say we want to do well. The district teaching and learning planning will also support the comprehensive master facility planning. So even though we'll be doing work through the master facility planning that's really more related to facilities and operations, you really can't do that in isolation or in a vacuum of your greater goals associated with teaching and learning. We've also, of course, added the instructional coaches to support the work of the DLT. And then once we better define our goals that are associated with core instruction, intervention, and social emotional programming, then we know that our professional learning and our budgets then can support those goals. We've got all our arrows going in the same direction. Just another few words there about the district leadership team. And I know that you're gathering from me just my strong belief in team building and teamwork, and how working together in high functioning teams, of course, the means to the end is, of course, being able to improve student learning, but it's also the end in itself, because at the core of high functioning healthy teams is a beloved community. it just reinforces this idea that we really truly are better together when we're working together. A nod to the instructional coaches again, which I appreciate the board supporting. I'm looking to add two high level instructional coaches that came out of our own classrooms that had success in the classroom to be able to positively impact student achievement through their support and coaching, not only just with teachers, but also with building administrators as well. And there you can see, I mean, really this year, as with any position and any year and in any role, is really to build relationships and provide support. But there are some specifics there about how they will support the work of the DLT. There will be a resource for effective instructional strategies, supporting curriculum and programming implementation. This year, the big focus on benchmarking implementation and how we use our data and the information we have about students to inform and impact instruction. And then they'll be pivotal in providing professional learning in the district as well. It has been a joy to work with them. And so really just to close out, just again, this understanding that we know that we are better when we're working together, that we're very aware that every interaction matters, and it all matters to make sure that we're supporting one another, supporting our students, and serving our greater community to the best of our ability. So thank you for this opportunity to kind of give a snapshot into the visioning for the 2022-2023 school year. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Okay, we'll move on to the treasurer's report. A, approve the minutes of the regular board meeting, August 18th, 2022. B, approve the August financial reports. C, approve the $1,200 donation from the Bowersville Jefferson Alumni Association to award 3 $400 scholarships to graduating seniors. D, approve the following donations to the Terry Pickering Scholarship: Ruth Topher, $50, John and Paula Crippen, $100, Homer and Evelyn Mash, $100, and Cynthia Price, $100. E, approve the donation of sound system to music department valued at $1,500. The donation includes an amp, sound machine, soundboard, 4 microphones with stands, and a drum machine. F, approve the amended estimated receipts for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023. G, approve permanent appropriations for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023. H, approve then and now for P&R communications for the transportation department in the amount of $5,736. I, approve then and now for frontline education for $6,061.43 for HR software. J, authorize treasurer to transfer $79,515 out of the general fund into the classroom facilities maintenance fund for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023, the 14th year of 23 years. K, approve the advances for the month ended August 31st, 2022. And L, approve the treasurer's report A through K as presented.
Second.
Does anybody have any questions on anything that's on the agenda today?
Approve amended estimated receipts
Correct.
for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023.
That's for this entire fiscal year.
Correct.
Yes.
I keep reading it and I'm like making sure I'm like, we're in 22.
Ended.
Right.
I kind of like,
You mean like,
so not really a question, just trying to understand what I'm looking at.
Yes, for the entire fiscal year.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And same for the appropriations. Okay. Scott Powers,
Yeah.
Angela Reagan.
Yes.
Megan Smith,
yes.
Teresa Wallace.
Yes.
Suzanne Arthur.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, at this time, number 4, the superintendent's update. A, teaching and learning. B, facilities. C, operations.
All right, thank you. So just to reiterate, our first from teaching and learning, our first DLT meeting took place on September 1st, where we really laid the groundwork and the foundation for how the year was going to go, the structure we were going to use, the benchmarking data that we were going to be working with, and how we were going to focus on the 3 areas that I shared with you earlier. We have finished up with the benchmarking, the fall benchmarking assessment. So as we approach the October DLT meeting, then the buildings and departments will be bringing their student information with them to those meetings, where we'll start to, do activities that analyze that information at a building and grade level, and then start to talk about how our instructional practices are either supporting success in those areas, or how we might be able to revise our instructional practices to improve in areas. Mrs. Godlove, our gifted intervention specialist, is now working in a full schedule with students, and we've been doing some additional things this year with our gifted numbers a little bit lower, that she's spending some time in classrooms with talent development. Again, just kind of over the COVID years, and also all the work that we've been doing and a great job of doing of closing gaps and providing intervention, but she can also provide support for teachers and students with that stretch piece for the students that are on the higher end of the class. And so we're really working with a model that's a little bit more flexible, so that she can tailor her programming to where the needs are. Our first early release was on September 7th. We have 4 early releases this year. That time is primarily used at the building level for grade level meetings, but also vertical or department meetings at the elementary. Their focus was primarily on literacy. At the middle school, also a literacy focus, and also looking at benchmarking for science and social studies and how that tool will be used. And then the high school had more of kind of like an element of choice model, where there was some gifted professional learning differentiation and some teacher-led sessions, which were especially cool, on just some strategies that they're using in the classroom that they're finding effective and sharing with their peers. And then Mr. George, our special education supervisor, led a meeting or a session, a training meeting with our paraprofessionals regarding how they can best support students and work with their intervention specialists in the classroom. We do this year a bit of a calendar change from the past. We have a full day professional learning day on October 13th. That'll actually be here before we know it, and a Friday the 14th where there is no school. So right now we're in the planning stages for that full day professional learning on October 13th. I'm working with all of our administrators on their professional growth plans for their 22-23 school year, where part of their work is also to align the work at the building level with the overall district goals and the overall district visioning that you saw tonight. We have 16 teachers who are participating in the resident educator program, whether they're in years 1 through 4. And then we have 5 mentors included in the resident educator program that work with those resident educators, working towards their professional license. Amy Atkins is playing a pivotal role in that and is doing a good job in her instructional coach role as a mentor in this capacity. And the state report card came out today, which is one of those days where I'm like, but I have had no time to be able to dig into any of these pieces. So I'll touch on it at the next board meeting.
I looked at it briefly today.
I pulled it up. I had some things that were time sensitive today. I didn't go down my rabbit hole. So this is at a high level. So the first of all, the report cards have shifted from a ABCDF to stars. And at first glance, and for those of you that can't see, it's a 5-star rating. And on 4 of the 5 categories, components they call them, they haven't changed that name. Yeah, on 4 of the 5 components, we received 4 out of 5 stars. So I really couldn't be more pleased. And that progress indicator doesn't make any sense to me. We'll figure it out. I'm wondering if they've changed the way in which that measure has been calculated. Again, I haven't taken any time yet, but it's confusing to me because I wanted to remind you that typically that measure is based off of growth, like our value-added teacher growth. And you may remember at the last board meeting, I spoke so highly of how, actually I have it with me, of how well our individual or our grade level value added data looks. So I'm confused by the progress number, but we'll get that figured out. But it just really speaks to what a difficult year last year still was, coming at the end of the pandemic, and how we really had to pull together and fight a little bit to keep our doors open and to make sure that students were in class, in person, and learning, and how hard our teachers worked on the intervention and gap closing piece. And it really paid off. So I'm just really, really pleased and really thrilled and excited to move forward, right? Because I think we have some really good momentum in some of the things that you heard tonight in the presentation with teaching and learning. And, it's nice to see the fruits of your labor come to fruition. And it just kind of helps you kind of keep pushing forward with that continuous improvement mindset. Good stuff.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Why
I don't know if I can answer.
Stars though over in the 6th category.
I'm going to assume that they didn't have enough data this year
Okay.
to be able to land on the
Because I'm reading
component.
it says 6 components. And
Yeah,
there's
and there,
6, but we only
there's
have
6.
5. Okay.
I'm guessing that I am speculating that coming back from COVID, and the way that some of the assessments were waived, or the way in which we've adjusted things to get through, if you will, that we didn't have valid data be able to land on the component. Okay, keep going. Facilities. I had shared with you at the last meeting that we were having really disagreements with our structural engineer with the modular in terms of how wide, how deep the pillars needed to be. We made adjustments to the location of the modular to put it at the front by the gate. And still yet the structural engineer came back and was like, well, we still think these pillars need to be wider and deeper. And so Prodigy, which I appreciate and will commend, they separated from that and they went with another structural engineer. So in some ways we're starting over a little bit in the process. But the permits will, let's see, they finished the drawings and they'll be ready for permit next week. And then we'll wait for the permits to be submitted as soon as they can. Once submitted, they'll be waiting on approval from Greene County. All other aspects of the project are ready to go once the permits are approved. So at the same time, I do think we're on the right track, even though it's taking longer than it should. Other pieces related to facilities, I already commented on the responsiveness of REAK. In fact, we've created their own maintenance ticket system so that if you have to do an HVAC ticket or something is not working well in the building, it doesn't go to our maintenance team, it just goes straight to REAK and they have direct access to be able to accommodate those pieces. We did just replace a compressor at the elementary that was really causing us some heartache earlier in the year too. Inga and I, the OFCC update. Inga and I met with bond counsel on Monday to really just educate ourselves and gather information about how the process works, financially speaking, and strategy as we move forward. Our first steering committee meeting. Now, the steering committee is that internal team that's going to have the high level oversight over the facilities process. The first steering committee team will meet a week from today. And that will include Inga, myself, Mrs. Arthur is going to serve as board member representation, and I've asked Mr. Kasner to join that team as well. The first community advisory committee will meet again mid-October, and then 4 meetings to follow that. So the steering committee will start the planning for how those community advisory meetings will look throughout the year. The next step is we're waiting for the OFCC to send us the template so that we can submit our enrollment, and then we can start seeing what kind of tangible dollar amount or that the OFCC will ballpark, or what they'd be willing, what that's specifically going to look like based on the enrollment piece. I am asking for your approval tonight for a proposal from SHP. the proposal here for their consulting services. This is through May of 23. So this is all the planning for the steering committee, the community advisory pieces, etc. And just kind of as an FYI, we had already budgeted for this out of our ESSER dollars. So this is already appropriated and allocated to pull from ESSER funds. I think that covers that. Operation safety and security, I really touched on already in the presentation. On October 13th, that professional learning day, we're going to have active threat training at each building for our staff. And I think I mentioned everything else there. Transportation still, we're still short-staffed in transportation. We're short on sub drivers, so things are moving a little bit more slowly. We are also looking for a transportation secretary as well. There's a vacancy in that position. The Greeneview swag has been popular. The Spirit Shop, I have some data here, and it looks like the sales performance in August was almost $2,000. So it looks like that's been pretty popular. I just want to encourage folks to still visit the Sideline store on the website. Athletic updates I'm sure you've already noticed, are now accessed through Parent Square. So that's where you should be getting your athletic updates moving forward. This weekend is the Fall Festival, and so we'll be sure to have a tent there on Friday evening as well as Saturday. So thank you, board members, for filling a spot, and encourage everyone to stop in and see us. And then lastly, I just wanted to comment that Mr. Alan Rowland at the high school is having some medical issues, and he's not able to be at work with us right now. So just want to let him and his family know that we are thinking of him and wish him better days and feeling better. So that is my superintendent's report.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Whitney. This time we'll have new business. A, approve the recognition of girls wrestling as an OHSAA emerging sport beginning in the 2022-2023 school year. B, approve the Greeneview High School Chess Club for the 2022-2023 school year, supervised by Angela Bryant. C, approve the agreement for limited professional consulting services between the Greeneview Local School District and SHP to support a master facility plan, including the exploration of support athletic facilities and field options. D, approve the amended change order resolution agreement between the local Board of Education of the Greeneview Local School District and Energy Optimizers. And E, approve new business items A through D as presented.
Any questions? All righty.
Good. We need to move on to personnel. We don't call for a vote for.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
New
call for a vote.
business, yeah.
All right.
I'll second.
Okay.
Angela Reagan,
Yes.
Megan Smith,
Yes.
Teresa Ellis.
Yes.
Suzanne Arthur,
Yes.
Scott Powers.
Yeah,
Motion passes.
Okay. Number 6, personnel. Approve Regina Heim to be paid for the extended school year services for the month of July at a rate of $25 an hour. B, approve the resignation of Debbie Linebaugh, Transportation Maintenance Secretary, effective September 9th, 2022 for the 2022-2023 school year. C, approve the following staff at a rate of $25 an hour for CPI training. Dale Vinson. D, approve the following classified substitutes for the 2022-2023 school year. Custodian Joyce Hall, Billy Joe Travis, and Bonnie Hildebrandt. Building aide and bus aide Jennifer Bush, contingent upon proper certification and background check. E, approve the following certified substitute for the 2022-2023 school year. James Hoffman. F, approve the following high school supplementals for the 2022-2023 school year. Senior class advisor Paul Thompson, junior class advisor Molly Bean, sophomore class advisor Carly Cranen, freshman advisor Sarah Nagel, yearbook advisor Molly Bean, student council Daniel Klusterman, National Honor Society Teresa Hoyle, Paul Thompson, and Chris Robin, the robotics advisor Amy Engel, Quick recall, Tom Burr. Quick recall assistant, Alan Rowland. Soda advisor, Debbie Clark. FFA advisor, Doug Wickline. Green Club Service Club, Robin Sweet. AM detention monitor, Brenda Willett, Ryan Haynes, and Trent Olds. PM detention monitor, Brenda Willett and Trent Olds. PM bus duty, Jessica Bryant. Saturday school monitor, Brenda Willett, Britt DeWitt, Tom Burr, Trent Olds, and Beth Neville. After school tutoring, Tom Burr, Paul Thompson, Robin Sweet, and Daniel Klusterman. Parking lot monitor, Brenda Willett. Marching band director, Matt Moody. Concert band, Matt Moody. Pep band, Matt Moody. Concert choir, Rick Gonzalez. Sensation show choir, Rick Gonzalez. Fall play director, Rick Gonzalez. Fall play musical stage assistant, Beth Neville. Spring musical director, Rick Gonzalez. Music department administrative assistant, Brenda Willett. And summer school teacher, Trent Olds. G, approve the following middle school supplementals for the 2022-2023 school year. Power of the Pen, Carolyn Jones and Amy Engel. Student council, Jake Williams. Yearbook advisor, Leah Godlove. Hope, unpaid, Amy Evans. Detention monitor, Lori Bolin. Homework help, Chase Held, Gina Heim, Dulcie Wilson, Brooke Bailey, and Andrew Reinhardt. And middle school athletic director assistant, Kelly Fife. And H, approve personnel items A through G as presented.
I will move.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Megan Smith,
Yes.
Teresa Wallace.
Yes.
Suzanne Arthur.
Yes.
Scott Powers,
Yeah.
Angela, gosh, I'm having trouble with that. Angela Reagan.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, and 7, discussion only. I don't believe we have any. 8, comments, questions for non-agenda items. And then I think we're ready for adjournment. Do I have a motion?
Second.
You guys are right, quick, quick.
That was easy.
Awesome. Okay,
Teresa Wallace,
Yes.
Suzanne Arthur.
yes.
Scott Powers.
Yeah.
Angela Reagan.
Yes.
Megan Smith.
Yes.
Motion passes.